Hey, I'm Decathlon Gamer, and welcome back to Pro Cycling Manager 2020. This is Career Mode. It's episode number 74, and we are getting the Vuelta Catalunya underway. This one, well, it's definitely a climbing stage, but it's a punchy one. And if I were to quick sim this, guaranteed we are going straight to second, third, fourth groups on the road and not at the front, and we lose time. Happens every time. Happens every time, especially when we are not the punchiest of teams, and our punchiest rider, punchiest two riders, are not present. So we could expect that to go pretty poorly. Playing it out, though, we're probably looking at a bunch sprint, but not for sure. There's a bit of red out there. Rodriguez, again, they're looking okay. So what we're going to do for this one, something I don't normally do, but we're going to go
counterattack by Kelderman
with time lapse as deep into this stage as I can, possibly all the way across the finish line. So we step away from Catalunya for a little bit, and we head to Bruges. 3-star objective, one of the last major objectives of the year. Top 10 in this classic, totally flat, so it's a sprint stage. Top 10 should be quite achievable. Of course, our normal tactic is to take either a Montoglu or Alves Machado in a sprint and see who's got the better race day condition and go with them. Well, Garrison's got a +4, Germain's got a +3, but outside of that, there are no positives in the team, and we're seeing a big acceleration here. The breakaway of 12 riders is just in front of us now. We nearly brought them all back in with 29k to go. But you can see the pace is pretty hot. I've already seen that the finish is technical. I think we're heading into the town that the finish is in now. You can see how we're weaving back and forth, left, right, through town.
The pack is back on level terms with the breakaway group.
24k to go now, so we still have a little while. There's definitely some fatigue setting into the field, so this could be a good sign for me that this chase is pretty hard and that it's going to do some damage.
There's nobody out in front.
All
so with less than
154
20
are
kilometers
still
to go,
here.
It's
20k
beginning
to go
to
now.
look as though it's going to end in a mass sprint.
16k to go. We will line up a sprint train here pretty soon.
15 kilometers to the
Just
finish line.
44.53 in the Peloton. We see a split in the field. This could be really good for my chances in the overall of getting a top 5 or something along those lines. It's be a little hard pressed to maybe come away with a win today. Montoglu a little stronger than Alves Machado. He's got a 78.75 today. Germain looking really good though, and that's going to add quite a bit of firepower. Granigan's not doing great, but Garrison's looking fantastic. Alright, 14.6, that's definitely far enough into this. We'll try a 92, but I have a feeling that that may not be enough. to get us to the front. That'll be enough to at least be near the front, and yes, it's not. 73 is. Okay, at the moment it's back together, but we're definitely seeing Tim de Klerk, Hostelberger, both going for a late move here. 11k to go for Mark. We're going to get his gel up. Barta, 93, seems to be holding us out front. 92 was competing
The finish line is
with the other riders,
The
so
riders
we'll
just passed the
hold
10
this
kilometers road
93.
sign.
And he is done. 9.3k to go. Still far enough out that we don't want to do too much, so Vermark's only going to do a 94. Just to give us a little more pace so that nobody comes to overtake us.
The
You
teammates
can
of the
already
main
see
sprinters
there's
are not handing
another
out
move.
tickets for
It's
a
de Klerk
breakaway,
again,
so the
though.
stage will end
He's
up
not
in a
going to
mass
have much
sprint.
left. Garrison, gel up. Okay, now we're starting to get into that technical stuff, meaning it's definitely time to start speeding up. 96. Gel, 6k to go, so gel for everybody else. Still holding that nice position out front. 97, 5k to go.
The riders are entering the last
Mark
5
getting us
kilometers
inside
of
the
the
last
stage.
5k. That's nice. That's good. Okay, on to Garrison and 99 from here on out. Red bar still full. Granigan doesn't have a lot of energy left. Okay, 3k and technical, so I'm going to start sprinting from 3k out with my lead out
Another
guys. You can
attack.
see it's
This
doing a
time it
little
could go
damage to my
all the
followers,
way.
but nobody's up beside us. 2.4k. This
There we
is
go.
your
The
way to
sprint
get
is
a
on.
top
The riders
10.
are setting themselves up.
Technical. It's German, Alves Machado, and Amonatoglu, pretty fresh and in an ideal position with just over 1 kilometer to go. Come on, German. That was not a sprint. He sits up. 1k to go. Alves Machado. The real threat here is Rainsford. Okay, sprint all. Monotoglu's in a good position here. So is Alves Machado for a top 3.
He managed the sprint
Theo
like a
Daly
master
takes the
of his
win.
craft.
Barbier,
He was certainly
Monotoglu
the
grabs
fastest
3rd
today.
ahead of Sonny Colbrelli. Alves Machado grabs 6th. We beat Case Bull as well. Not a full list of the best sprinters, but there's certainly a couple of
We're
the best
waiting for the
sprinters
tail enders
here.
who continue to
Colbrelli,
arrive.
Case Bull, definitely on the top of that list. And we managed to beat both of them. Couldn't beat all the sprinters though. We're not at that level, and especially with neither of our 2 strong guys having a terribly good race day condition. And German, who had the really good race day condition, did not give us a proper lead out. He came around that final corner and was well beyond the corner before he actually really put his head down and started pedaling hard, even though we hit sprint before he entered
And here are the race
the
highlights that
corner.
we've
So
selected for you.
he got hung up there a little bit, and that cost us at least a bike length. That could have been the difference. Maybe not enough for the win coming out of there, but yeah, we're a little more than a bike length out of the win, but it should have been enough to get one more position to 2nd. As for the sponsor, though, 2nd, 3rd, no difference. Again, we've said this many times before, but their evaluation points are 1st, or podium, or top 5, or top 10, or top 25. Everything in between those. 11th means no different than 25th. 6th means no different than 10th in evaluation. But a podium, definitely the way to go, and that keeps us locked in on that sponsor confidence and really sets us up because there's not much left to do from here. This one, we haven't ticked to that next day yet, so it hasn't gone through. But we've got major successes in 3 of the top 4. Perry Tour is not until October, so that's not going to count for the year, meaning we're done with our top 5 objectives now with better than 75%, because super success in 3 and a partial failure in 1 gives us about a 90% evaluation for those, which contributes to the overall 100% evaluation. We still have Turkey, Bali's Belgium Tour, and Österreich Rundfahrt. Just 3 objectives left, and you can see the average of those is just 2 stars. We return to Catalunya, midpoint, stage 3. We come back a little earlier than intended to point out that there still is not a proper established breakaway. There are still riders trying to bridge the gap to the front. There's still riders dropping from the front from being out there too long and falling back, so they're kind of just rotating through one after another. But the chase has been pretty intense. You can see just how bad we are doing at 76 effort level. We have slipped well back from the front of the pack to about the middle of the pack. So I'm having to up the effort to an 80 just to try to hold position on a slight hill. Halfway through the stage. The breakaway is completely gone now, so there are riders out the back. Most of those were probably breakaway riders who stayed out front a little too long, couldn't hang on. You can see that Moreno, Rodriguez are both cooked. Rainsford, the only rider at 100% right now, and even he is showing signs of fatigue at this point in the race. They have 73k to go, which isn't a lot, so that's a good sign.
This climb features some
definitely going to need to get some water here. So we're good to go to the end. This isn't necessarily going to set us up to the end, but it'll just about get us there with the uphill part of that finish, getting it down to the last 60k or so. But looking at the profile, if Rodriguez doesn't get back up here soon, he's never going to make it with that water, especially at this pace. We have a single rider who's been allowed to get a minute 20, so at least there was a little setup. You can see just how quickly we're coming back to Lamertine as Froome and Gegenhardt turn the screw for Ineos.
The little promenade is over.
And yet again, breakaway done. So no proper breakaway on this entire day, this entire stage, with just 60k to go. We are very, very unlikely to see a breakaway forming now. And with that kind of damage already being done, this climb that didn't look so bad, it's looking a whole lot worse now with the general fatigue.
Well, we can see that the pack is increasing the pace. It's going to be difficult to break away now. This is the last
Cat
third of the
ones,
race.
and then
The
a
team
finishing
leaders have their
climb,
minds fixed on today's goal. The pace is so high that a few riders are going to be very sore at the end of the day.
30 points. So yeah, it's all category.
It's in such percentages that the strongest can create some gaps.
This is going to be tough. And while I brought a climbing team to this one, I don't think we're up to this challenge. You can see Moreno already is done. Rodriguez is already fading now.
It's perhaps due to fatigue, but
and again,
I bet on some sort of tactical
just on
choice.
80,
and now Omar Freiley goes into the attack.
Pretty fast here. We're going to have to up this a little more. 83. I mean, if we go too hard, we're done early.
The breakaway has now got over a minute on the pack.
But then again, we're only here to try to compete.
He broke from
And
the
if we
pack
don't
like
go
a
fast enough, we
greyhound.
get dropped anyway. So it's not necessarily about managing time. It's about trying to still be in contention. Otherwise, we'll do what we did in the previous episode. We get dropped from contention early, then we accept defeat, and we move on to our next event. So Moreno, the only one who was properly dropped. Rodriguez hangs on. I'm going to have to refit my strategy, though, because right now, Johnson's the only protected rider. Ginn needs to be a protected rider. Rainsford needs to be a protected rider. So I think Berwick and Killen, even though they're looking pretty dang good today.
Some team managers mustn't appreciate the fact
Johnson,
that there is a breakaway, given that the pack
Johnson's
has
on a
increased its
-1,
speed.
so that's not great, but it's okay. All right, here we go. Mostly uphill from here. Just one slight downhill section, and it's not that steep of a descent.
The lead over the pack is dwindling.
It's not going to do much to allow recovery, so we're kind of double climbing to the finish from here, for the most part anyway. Just a single rider away. Spanish rider, movie star, that's all I
The
caught
pack
there.
is
I didn't see
increasing
who
its
it
work
was,
rate.
but
Some teams can't be happy with the breakaway.
they're not likely to hang on with that small of a gap alone. Moreno, sorry, went too far back there. Rainsford, slipping back a little too
The
far
pack
here.
is slowly whittling
Rodriguez,
away the lead. Those guys up front aren't going to be making too many friends today.
Okay, Rainsford, step it up a little more. Killen still doing okay. And we're going to get over the top of this climb pretty soon. You can see the 1K banner coming up.
They really are moving. The pack
Down to
can't get strung out
96 in
too
the
far,
Peloton.
or it's going to start breaking up.
Alright, over the top, but we get a false flat. A little bit more uphill. That's steep.
The riders are in a portion above 10%.
11, 12, 13, 15% before we crest. Then we get our short recovery period. And again, it's not going to be much to it. Okay, so we got Rodriguez out the back. I've already set him to auto. And we're down to 5 at the front. Berwick, very much not going to last much longer, so we'll go ahead and gel up now. Killen as well. And see the definite fatigue in our guys. We'll set to an 85 here to try to hold. Heart rate is low enough that we are getting some recovery. That rider out front, we'll finally check to see who it is, Omar Fraile. Fraile back out to a minute, but again, he stands no chance. There are some seconds available right here, but it's not worth the effort.
Some team managers mustn't appreciate the fact that there is a breakaway, given that the pack has increased its speed.
Climb from here. Okay, Berwick. We'll ride with him for a moment. He's going to start drifting back.
The pack is back on level terms with the breakaway group.
A little bit of recovery through there, but not much. Berwick is still totally exhausted. He didn't recover just about at all.
The riders have upped the pace.
96 riders. That break is done now. Berwick somehow hanging on at the moment. I mean, they're not pushing too hard. Killen's going to start fading here pretty soon as well. Rainsford looking the strongest, so we'll probably have Johnson switch to protecting Rainsford here shortly.
And now we're into the final climb. The riders know there are pretty ladies at the top. The peloton has slowed down a bit.
Officially onto the climb now.
And he moves on to the attack.
Here we go. There's already 5 riders getting away. Gaudu, Bardet, Rubio, Ciccone, and Soler going for it. But you've got, wait, is Soler Ineos? No, that's not Ineos. So Ineos will definitely chase this back. We don't need to be the one to try to commit to that, especially with the lack of strength we have. 10K to go. And we're down to our 3 as Killen and Berwick are fading. So restructure. Actually, no, not yet. Not yet. Johnson, gel. Ginn, gel as well.
10 kilometers to the
Ginn's
finish
going to
line.
lead out Johnson, Rainsford here in a moment. We're starting to lose a little bit of ground. As soon as Johnson's out of energy, we change tactics, and Ginn is going to try to bring Rainsford back forward.
It's survival of the fittest, and evolution doesn't seem to favor those in the
Those
rear.
guys already
There's a
got pulled
growing list
back.
of riders left behind.
Ginn successfully brings it forward, and while he's still there, and we'll go 99. We do have one rider, Ciccone, kept going away. Rubio, McNulty, now Bardet, and Carapaz chasing it down. This is what I was talking about with Ineos, doing the dirty work. Rainsford, go ahead and gel up. He's a 77 on the climbing today, but he's not great stamina resistance. So stay gentle on the effort. Okay, here's the big acceleration, the top contenders. Rainsford, no, you need to just sit on, let somebody else do that chase. 10 riders away, but Rainsford barely has anything left.
Five kilometers to the finish line.
And now he's got no energy left. This is what happens when you don't have a Gianpaolo Tentoni. Oh man, I can't help myself. I can't help myself. I'm sorry. I miss you so much, buddy. Alright, still 3.5K to go. And not recovering energy. He's not a strong enough climber. Heart rate almost at that point where he's able to recover, but he's not. He's just above that mark. And therefore he's just kind of slipping back a little bit further, as not quite as strong as these guys around him. 142. That should be enough to get a tiny bit of recovery going on.
Great stuff! Teamwork
Bernal
really paid
easily
off,
wins.
and
He's
their
winning
sprinter
every
brings
corner
home the
recently.
bacon. The
Palace
tailenders
takes
are still
second.
coming in.
Landa, Kruiswijk, Hershey, Ciccone, McNulty. Strong showing from the American riders. Padun, Arnsman, and Mulberger. Told you Ineos was going to do the dirty work and take care of things, and they did. Rainsford dropped by the group there at the end, so instead of being on same time as 10 guys around him, and into the top 20 essentially on time, he slips back 28th, and so he'll be outside of the top 25 as a result. And yeah, it's not looking so good for the rest of this race, meaning, well, we gave it our all at Catalunya, but it just wasn't to be. I'll go ahead and cut to the final stage of this one, show you the outcome. We'll quick sim the last few stages, and then we'll wrap this episode up. Final standings at Catalunya. Egan Bernal takes the win by over a minute ahead of Nielsen Palace. Kruiswijk third. Ciccone and McNulty round out the top 5. In support of team leader Egan Bernal, Carapaz grabs 6th place. And in a pretty solid showing, fitness peak throughout though, Takari Rainsford grabs 12th. 5 minutes 11 seconds down. Not bad, not bad. He did move back up the order quite a bit over those following stages, losing time everywhere throughout, but not losing as much time as other riders. Everybody seemed to have a bad day. He never necessarily had a bad day. He just had kind of the best he could do. Zach Johnson, on the other hand, definitely had a bad day. And while they were kind of dual leaders throughout, and Zach Johnson started his fitness peak at the midpoint of Catalunya, that first half, that chunk of time he lost was too much. So those two were kind of trading places the last few stages on finishing position, generally around just inside top 20 or just outside of the top 20. But again, over the long haul for Rainsford, never losing a giant chunk of time was enough to grab 12th, which, yeah, that's not bad. It's not a bad time. Good enough for third, the under 25s. And as a team, we were 11th. That is going to do it for this episode, though. I'm Decathlon Gamer. Thanks for tuning in. Be sure to hit that like button, and I'll see you next time. Have a good one. Be safe out there, and bye for now.